Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So something is going on in the state of New York here. This is a state that voted for Joe Biden by 23 percentage points in the 2020 election. However, you are seeing a very interesting development take place in both the governorship election that is taking place in about a month or so, as well as the attorney general's race, which is very interesting. You have very unpopular incumbent governor Kathy Hochul, who took over for the disgraced Andrew Cuomo, and she is struggling to poll above 50% in the state of New York. Meanwhile, you have Congressman Lee Zeldin from Long Island. He's not exactly, your Phil Scott type of Northeastern Republican. He's not exactly, the most conservative guy ever, but still is relatively decent for New York. He is polling above 40%, and there are several polls that are coming out that have this race within the margin of error. And this needs to be looked at. I'm not going to come out here and say that Lee Zeldin is favored or that even Lee Zeldin is going to win. But if he is really going to make this close, it will have a lot of down ballot implications in some congressional races, and it shows how weak the Democrats truly are, especially on the issue of crime. And it's also an indicator that in some other competitive races across the country that are taking place next month, Democrats could be in a whole lot of trouble. So we're going to dive into this a little bit more, but first I have to tell you guys about my very good friends over at My Patriot Supply, because the world is experiencing food shortages. Supply chain breakdowns continue to have a domino effect on everything, especially food production. Farmers can't plant as many crops now because of fertilizer shortages, forced regulations, and high fuel prices, which will cause more painful food shortages when we run out of the food we're eating now. It takes time to grow. So when farmers don't plant, months later, we don't eat, which is why you need to prepare for possible increasing number of food shortages. And the best way is to invest in ready hour emergency food from My Patriot Supply. It's a perfect hedge against skyrocketing prices and shortages. Right now, you could save up to $60 on a 4-week supply or 20% on a 3-month supply as well, a savings of almost $200 there. You can go to preparewithredeagle.com and get your supply now, because those who know what's coming are getting prepared. So shouldn't you? Go to preparewithredeagle.com. So about New York, this race should not be competitive on paper. This is a state that voted for Biden by 23 percentage points. Even in red wave years, Andrew Cuomo had no problem winning in 2010 or 2014. However, Lee Zeldin is in striking distance in the state of New York. I'm not saying, he's going to win it. He could, though. The chance is there. It's a non-zero chance. It's not a chance that's above maybe even 10, 15%, but you never know what could happen. We look at what took place in New Jersey last year. Very similar thing, one could say. But now the polls have New York closer than they have other states like Pennsylvania or Michigan, which is why we need to talk about this. It's very possible the polls could be underestimating Hochul at the end of the day. But Hochul's unpopular. She's somebody that gets booed at sporting events in New York City. And you look at crime. This is a big issue this cycle, and Zeldin is capitalizing off of this. Crime is going through the roof. Democrats will sit back here and they will say, crime is nowhere near the levels that it was in the 1990s. They've said that for years. They said it in 2016 when Trump ran a tough on crime campaign as their rebuttal. They've ran with that for years, but they can't run with it anymore because crime is up noticeably over the past few years. And you could say, it's just because of COVID. I mean, that was kind of the spark of it, was around the time that you had COVID, you had the BLM riots, but crime is continuing to go up during 2022. And even though murders have gone down by 10% compared to last year, major other violent crime is up significantly. And it's not even close. You look at grand larceny up 48.3%, auto theft 42% in New York, robbery 40%, and rapes going up 10% as well. I mean, there's so many metrics that show crime on the rise, especially in New York City and New York State. And you look at their attorney general's race as well. You have Letitia James, and she is somebody that fights with Trump. Her whole mission as AG is to investigate Trump. She can't find anything, of course, which means that she's either really bad at her job or Donald Trump is innocent. But she's going up against an attorney, Michael Henry, who is winning some polls, Trafalgar. Which, again, some of the polls don't exactly add up 100%. But Siena, they're probably underestimating Republicans. Maybe you could say Trafalgar would be overestimating them. But either way, this is going to be a close race. And Letitia James is hated because she's ignoring the crime. She's very weak on crime. Her and Hochul are championing this criminal justice reform that lets criminals out onto the street, but turning a blind eye to everything because Orange Man bad. And even a lot of independents who don't like Trump understand that this is a problem and that she's an awful attorney general. And they understand that Hochul is an awful governor, and she's basically the protege to Andrew Cuomo, who was very disgraced. He left office with an approval rating that was extremely low. And the Libertarian candidate has been disqualified. That is likely going to help Lee Zeldin out as well in this race. And you look at some of these polls, showing Cooperman Research shows it as a 6-point race. Marist shows it as an 8-point race. Marist is not exactly a very right-leaning pollster. You look at Trafalgar, they have it within 2. McLaughlin has it within 6. Siena is likely the outlier here, and they have Kathy Hochul up by around 17 points or so. I'm thinking Zeldin is going to get in the mid-40s regardless. I think this is a race that is very well within 10 percentage points or so. The only question is between now and Election Day, can Zeldin go out there? Can he just barnstorm the state, campaign, get his messaging out there, going up against Hochul? And can he really put the math together to win? And you look at him and his performance in the primary, it was resounding. He had an interesting coalition. And this was a divisive primary by the numbers. He only got 43%. But Andrew Giuliani instantly endorsed Zeldin. All the other candidates endorsed Zeldin. Zeldin is the best chance. The party in New York is unified behind Zeldin, and he did very well on Long Island. Look at that. He did extremely well there. He only didn't win New York City, mainly because of the fact that Andrew Giuliani, he's the son, I believe, of Rudy, was running there, and he got, a plurality of the Republican support there. But he did very well on Long Island in terms of Zeldin. He was able to get over 70% of the vote. And in a lot of the counties upstate, he did very well, in which you have to do in a general. Is it going to carry over necessarily? We don't know, but he did well everywhere. He put an interesting coalition together. He should have no problem getting Republicans on board, but that's only part of the equation. And right-leaning independents as well. You want to go up to the Democrat primary? Well, that was the lieutenant governor one. Here it is. Hochul won every county. She faced more steep opposition early on. But no, she didn't even get 70% of the vote as an incumbent, which again, for somebody as unpopular as her, that is pretty good, but she still showed problems galvanizing her party, and she only got 600,000 votes in New York. There's likely going to be millions of votes cast. In 2020 in New York, there was about 8.5 million or so. So that's not a big portion of the electorate there that you see. And Republicans, their turnout wasn't that high either, but it just shows that primaries are not everything here. But beyond that point, we talk about the math. Where is the math for Zeldin? Because let's say he does very well on Long Island. Let's say he runs it up, we'll even give him 20 points, or we'll actually go like 25 points in these counties. Right, that'll cut the margin, but it's still a 20-point game. He's going to have to do better in New York City, and he could, Sleewood did better than a lot of people anticipated as well, but he's going to have to probably in these counties, we'll leave Westchester out of it, but he's probably going to need to do, on average, about 15 to 20 points better in New York City alone. And that would be enough to get it within 13. And let's say he is going to run it up in Staten Island. He's going to win by insane margins there. Okay, it's a 12-point race. And he's going to have to do better in a lot of the counties upstate. We'll even give him Buffalo right there. Okay, look at it. It's still an 11-point game. So he's going to have to do really well upstate, probably get it within, you do the math in a lot of these counties here, you're probably going to be able to get it within, 5 to 10 or so. And that may be plausible, but is it really going to be enough? He would have to do extremely well in New York City and Long Island to actually make it happen. He's going to have to see swings you would never anticipate. And while it's very possible he will do very well in certain places, he's going to have to do really well across the board. The real question is the math there? He should win on paper. I support him. but I'm not entirely sure if the math is going to be there for him at the end of the day. But it just depends how despised the opposition truly is. If he's going to be doing better in Westchester and he can cut that one down, he probably will do better in Rockland. Again, you look at the sub-demographics, large Jewish community there. Zeldin himself, being Jewish, will probably do better, especially as there's a lot of Orthodox and Hasidic voters in Rockland. But is it going to be enough at the end of the day to swing the state back to the right, even against an unpopular governor? I don't know. But like I said, the down ballot effects are real. I'm not going to sit up here and discount them, because let's say Zeldin loses by 5. It's very possible that James could go down. It's very possible that a lot of these swing districts, you're going to see more Republicans turn out. They're energized for Zeldin, even if he falls short. And then you're going to see, Katko's seat will hold Republican. You're going to see a lot of these swing or competitive districts go red, which would be very helpful down ballot. It would be very helpful for Republicans nationwide, because you would have more congressmen that would be voting against Biden, that would be voting in line with Trump when Trump gets in there, presumably 2025 to 2029. So this is all that matters here. You have to look at the full picture. You have to look at what's happening down ballot. So even if it's a close race, it's still a net positive, which is true. And we'll look at what happens on election day. Obviously, there's time between now and then, but you talk about just finding the math there. I'm really trying to find out where it is. Like, he's gonna have to pull 40% in Queens. In Brooklyn, he's going to have to get in the mid-30s if he wants to win. You look at the Bronx. I mean, it's possible with Hispanic trends that he could do surprisingly well there. Depends on how he's doing with Hispanics. You see a lot of people talking about the Hispanic realignment and to what extent it's true. That's been a debate on the right wing for quite some time over the past couple of years, and I can understand where both sides are coming from, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens, because there's just a lot of conflicting polling, conflicting data. I'm sure Republicans will do better with Hispanics in 2022 than they even did in 2020, as a lot of the special elections have shown us, and Democrat turnout dipping, etc. But is it going to be enough to see massive swings in New York City, like we saw in South Texas in 2020, or even to see the same trends we saw in New York in 2020, which did exist? I mean, the Bronx swung right by 12, etc. I don't even know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But either way, I think this is a net positive, and hopefully you could see Lee Zeldin come close. And maybe if the wave is big enough, you never know, New York could end up with a Republican attorney general, or maybe even a governor, but still, you would probably rather be Hochul, regardless. I would not bet money on Zeldin, but it's going to be closer than people think. I really do. It's going to be possibly within 10. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.